Okay, so now according to the keyboard keys, okay, we will be activating these weapons one by one if it is picked. Okay, so for that, right here we will create a update method in which we will now check for each of this weapon. So first of all, let's check for the fist fight mode. Okay, as you know that the fist fight mode will be activated by the mouse left button. Okay, so right here we will say that if the left mouse button is pressed, okay, so we will say if input dot get button down. Since it will be a mouse button, so we will use get mouse button down. Okay, and the mouse button, it will be the 0, which is the left mouse button. Okay, we will say if that is pressed, and also we will only allow the player to perform fist fighting when there is no weapon activated. Okay, and also the fist fight modes is also not activated. So if that is the case, then we will allow the fist fight mode to be activated. Okay, or you can say this fist fight mode equals to true. Okay, so now right here we will say if weapon 1 is not active, so we will say if it is equals to false, then we will say if is weapon 2 is also not active, then in the same way we will do it for the weapon 3 and weapon 4. So change them accordingly as well, weapon 3, weapon 4. And with 4 of the weapons we will also check if the fist fight mode is already active or not. Okay, so for that we will say fist fight mode equals to false. Okay, so if this is the case, okay, no fight mode is activated, and if the player presses the left mouse button, then we will activate fist fighting. Okay, so for that we will say fist fight mode equals to true. Okay, then we will call a method which will be by the name of is rifle active. Okay, and now after this update method, let's create this is rifle active method. So we will say is rifle active. Okay, and in here what we will do if the fist fight mode is equals to true. Okay, so we will say if the fist fight mode is equals to true, okay, then what we will do, we will allow the player to perform the punches and kicks. Okay, so we will say fist fight, which is the script name right here, fist fight. Okay, we will say fist fight dot get component. Okay, we want to get the script fist fight and we will activate this script. Okay, so we will set it to true. And if I show you right here, as you can see, the bazooka, rifle, single melee attack and fist fight script and the grenade thrower script, they are all deactivated by default. Okay, we will only be activating them if the player wants that specific fighting mode. Okay, and as you can see, it is showing this error on the inventory script line 40. It says that this is weapon 3 active is not available. Let me check it. Okay, right here is weapon 3. We didn't type a right there. Okay, so is weapon 3 active. Okay, make sure that you check your own spellings as well if you do any mistake. Okay, and also make sure that you name them correctly, 1 1 2 2 3 3 4 4. Okay, so now it will activate the fist fight script whenever the player presses the mouse button and no other fighting mode is activating. Okay, so let's play it and test it out if it works or not. So as you can see, no weapon is activated because we didn't pick any. So let's try to press the mouse button, and as you can see, fist fight mode is equals to active, and if you notice, the fist fight script is also active, as you can see. Okay, so now the player can do this, as you can see. But if you notice, the fist fight script doesn't deactivate it, so we need to deactivate this script okay, after the timer is gone, okay, because in the fist fight mode we have the timer right here. If it passes the 5 limit and the player didn't press any button, we then simply deactivate the fist fighting, okay. Then we also want to deactivate this script again. And also, if I show you back again, okay, if we activate the fist fighting mode, as you can see, when the 5 limit reaches, as you can see, the player stopped the fist fighting, but if you notice, the fist fight mode is still active and this is still active as well. So in order to deactivate them, let's open up the fist fight script, and right here after this night layer, let's create a reference for the inventory script. So we will say public inventory and name it as inventory as well. Then right here, when the 5 limit reaches, okay, then we deactivate the fist fight active. So with that, we also want to deactivate the script, and also we want to set this fist fight mode to false as well. So we will say inventory dot fist fight mode equals to false, and after this we want to deactivate the script. But before deactivating the script, we will reset the timer, okay, because if you didn't reset the timer and deactivate the script, then the timer will be equals to 5, and when that script becomes active again, then the timer will be 5 and the player won't be able to perform the fist fighting again, okay. So make sure that you reset the timer, okay, before deactivating the script, okay. So when the timer is equals to 0, then after that we will say this dot game object dot get component. We want to get the fist fight script component, and when we get that, we will say dot enabled equals to false. That is it, okay. Save the script, get back to Unity. Now we need to assign the inventory script in here, so drag and drop the inventory in there, and now it will work perfectly fine if we play the game. Okay, so if we activate the fist fighting, as you can see, the timer is increasing. When it gets the 5 limit, it just get back to 0, okay. And now if we activate it again, as you can see, it is activated back again, and now when the timer reaches 5, as you can see, the timer simply resets and the script and fist fight mode becomes false as well, as you can see, okay. And as I told you, if you didn't reset the timer, then let me show you. If we play the game, okay, and let's for example activate the mode, as you can see, it is activated. Now when after 5 seconds, as you can see, when the scripts and this equals to false, okay, but the timer is still 5. So now if we try to activate it again, as you can see, it is not activating, and whenever we press the left mouse button, the timer is increasing, okay, because our condition gets false right there, okay. This condition get false because the timer is now already greater than 5, okay. So it just simply deactivate these things, okay. So that is why I have told you to reset the timer before deactivating the script, okay. So now, as you know that we can activate the fist fighting mode and deactivate it, now let's do it for the other rifles as well, okay. So if we click on inventory, now right here we have done it for the fist fighting mode. Now after this, let's do it for the sword, okay. So for that, what we will do, we will say that if the player presses the keyboard one button, okay, then by using that one button we will activate the sword and also deactivate the sword. So now let's first of all work on activating. So we will say if input dot get key down, and that key is the 1 key, okay, and also if the is weapon 1 active is false, it means if the sword is not activated already, and also the other rifles are also not activated. So let me copy this weapon 2, weapon 3 and 4, okay. Don't copy this fist fighting mode right there, okay. So we will say that if weapon 1, weapon 2, weapon 3 and 4 is not active, okay, and the player presses the 1 key, then what we will do, we will activate the sword fighting. So for that we will say is weapon 1 active, we will set this to true, okay, then we will call is rifle active method right there, and that is it. Then if we get right here, actually let me copy it from here first of all, and let's add a if else if condition right here. So we will say else if, okay, we will say if this button is pressed again, because by using the 1 key we will be deactivating the sword as well, okay. So we will say if input dot if this button is pressed again and also the is weapon 1 active is true, okay. It means that if the button is pressed again, okay, and the is weapon 1 active is true, okay, then what we will do, we will deactivate it, okay. So we will say is weapon 1 active equals to false, and we will call is rifle active again right here, okay. So what this means, that it means that if all of the weapons are deactivated and the player presses the 1 button, then we will activate the first rifle, and when the first rifle is activated, okay, and if the player presses the 1 button, then we will deactivate the first rifle by using the same button, okay. This is all it meant. Now let's get down to the is rifle active method, and now in here we will activate the single melee attack script, okay, and also the animations. So right here we will say if is weapon 1 active is true, then what we're gonna do, we want to show the sword in the player hand, okay. So for that, for showing the sword, we will create a enumerator type method down below. So right here after this is rifle active, we will say enumerator weapon 1 go, okay. We will name it as weapon 1 go. Right here we will say that if the is weapon 1 active is false, okay, then the weapon which is inside the player hand, okay, or you can say the sword inside the player hand, it will be remain as false, okay. If the is weapon 1 active is false, then it will be false as well. After this we will say yield return new, wait for seconds. After this let's just wait for 0.5 seconds, and after that we will say that if the is weapon 1 active is true, okay, then if it is true, then we want to show the sword in the player hand. So we will say weapon 1 dot set active, and let's set it to true, okay. That is all we need to type right here. It means that if the player is weapon 1 active is false, okay, then the sword inside the player hand will remain as false, but if it is true, then it will get true as well, or you can say show in the player hand as well, okay. So now right here we say if this weapon 1 active is true, then we want to call this enumerator method, in which, as you can see, when this is true, then we want to show the weapon, okay. So right here we will say start coroutine, and let's call the is weapon 1 go, okay. And then what we want to do, we want to activate the single melee attack script. So as you know that it is by the name of SMAS. So right here we will say SMAS dot get component. We want to get the single melee attack, and what we want to do with it, we will say dot get enabled, and let's set it to true, okay. We will activate the single melee attack script, and also when the sword is active, we also want to active the single hand attack active to true as well, okay, when this script is active. So first of all, let's open up the single melee attack script, and right here, as you know, we have this reference to the animator, and right here we activate the single hand attack active when we press the mouse button. So now we don't need this anymore. Okay, we will just simply cut this from here, okay, and remove this if condition, because now we will be activating this single melee mode by using the one button. Okay, as you can see right here, which we type right here. Okay, so when we activate this script, we also want to activate the animator state machine of the single melee active. So we will say anime.setPool single hand attack active, we will set it to true. And if I show you the animator, this is actually this bool right here, single hand attack active. Okay, so it will be set to true. Okay, that is it. Then copy this if condition again and paste it down below, and then this time we will say if the is weapon 1 active is false. Okay, if the player deactivate the first weapon, then we also want to deactivate the script and also the animation as well, and we will call the weapon 1 go. And as you know, when in the weapon 1 go, if it is equals to false, then we remove the weapon as well. Okay, so it will work perfectly fine. If we get back right here to Unity, okay, now it will make even more sense to you. Let me check up the scripts first of all. Okay, everything is perfectly fine. Now as you know, the weapon 1 picked is false. So now if we press the 1 button, as you can see, it is still activating the weapon 1. Okay, as you can see, it is inside the player hand. So we actually don't want that. We only want to activate the weapon 1 when it is picked. Okay, when it is picked from there. Okay, so how we will do that, you will be thinking. So for that, right here, when we are saying that if none of the weapon is active and we press the 1 button, then we activate the first weapon. Okay, now with this we also want to say that if the is weapon 1 picked is true. Okay, what this will mean now, this will mean now that if the weapon 1 is picked, then in that case we will only be activating the weapon 1, or else we will not be activating it. So right here inside this if condition, make sure that you add this condition now as well, is weapon 1 picked equals to true. Okay, now if we play the game again, I mean get back to Unity, play it again. Yes, okay, as you can see, the weapon 1, none of the weapon is picked. Okay, for now we type the code for weapon 1, so let's test the weapon 1 again. Now if we press the 1 button, as you can see, now it is not activating it. But now if we go ahead and pick the weapon 1, as you can see, weapon 1 picked is now true. Okay, now if we try to activate it, as you can see, it is now activating the weapon 1, as you can see. Okay, and we can simply attack on the weapon 1, I mean using the weapon 1, as you can see. Okay, but you saw there was a bit of lag there. Let me show it to you again. Okay, whenever we try to activate it, as you can see, it shows the sword after some time. Okay, and when we deactivate, now as you can see, we can also deactivate it as well. Okay, because we type a code for that. As you can see, we can activate it and deactivate it, and as you can see, the script is activating and deactivating as well, and also this bool right here. Okay, if we press it, it is deactivated, it is activated back again. Okay, so as you can see, it is showing this after some time, and that is due to this wait for seconds. Okay, I have made this 0.5 because if some of you guys want to add the draw animation for the sword, okay, when the player take off the sword from the back, then you need this to be set to 0.5, but for now we don't have that animation. Okay, so we will just set this to 0.1, and when it is set to 0.1, then the sword will be activated perfectly fine. Okay, so if we go ahead and pick it up, okay, and when we picked it, pick the sword. Now activated. As you can see, it is activating perfectly fine and deactivating as well, as you can see. Okay, so now we have type a code for activating and deactivating the weapon 1. Now this video is already a little bit lengthy, so we'll be adding the other weapons in the next video.